Do you remember when you had your first hot flash? Where were you? What symptoms did you notice? While you're thinking, welcome to the lunch hour. We're just going to be chilling and chatting about menopause. And so while you're thinking, let me go first. Because I think that I've only shared bits of my story online. So I was in Paris, France, to be perfectly specific, and oh my gosh, it was just an absolutely wonderful time I was having. I went with a group, and we had just come back from the Moulin Rouge, and I'm pretty sure I only had one drink. But that next morning, I woke up and I was drenched in sweat. And it scared me. I had no idea. And fortunately, I had a roommate who was a few years older than me, and because I was in my 30s actually, and she was a little older than me, and I was so flabbergasted. I was like, oh my God, what happened? I thought something was wrong, and she said, oh girl, that's just menopause. And so that was my first experience, and that was, gosh, it was well over 20 years ago, and I still remember it like it was yesterday. And so, this is really about figuring out what hot flashes or what the symptoms of menopause look like. And that was what my first experience of a hot flash looked like. And because she was there and she made light of it, I looked at it as being something that was just a fact of life, and that it wasn't a big deal. And so I took it as something that it wasn't necessarily anything that I was afraid of, but it was something that I needed to work with. And so I used it as an empowering piece to my life because I wanted to get up. I was living in New York at the time, and I wanted to get up before my children woke up. And New York apartments during the wintertime can be really cold. And if you live in New York, you know what I'm talking about. And so I would have a hot flash every morning at like 5 o'clock. And so there was this new show. If you're old enough, you probably remember it. It was called the 20-Minute Workout. And so when that show came on, right before it came on, I would have a hot flash. And so my hot flash would get me out of the bed and into my workout clothes. So I would be ready to break a sweat during the 20-minute workout. And after the 20-minute workout, I was cool. My flashes were gone. I was up and I was ready for whatever was going to happen during the day. So that's how I incorporated the hot flash in my life. And so, when I talked to my mentors, I began really investigating what was going on because my mother was deceased at this time. She died when I was 10 going on 11. And so I needed to speak to other women who were older than me who had experienced these issues. And so that was my first investigation in terms of what is this and what do I need to be aware of. So let me see. Oh, hey, Marianne. Marianne says, wow, thinking about it now, maybe I was having hot flushes. I just thought that I was hot during the night. Exactly. You don't really know what you don't know. And if you've never had it before, you don't know what it is, especially if it comes in the summertime. You just think, well, the weather's hot. Hey, Sheila Taylor, how are you? Good afternoon. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're talking about hot flashes and when was your first hot flash? So, Sheila, if you are perimenopausal or postmenopausal, do you remember when your first hot flash was? So, while they're talking, I'm just going to share, the mentors that I spoke with had the exact same advice as the first woman, my roommate in Paris. One of my mentors said, I was, if I have a hot flash, I turn the fan on. And when the hot flash goes away, I turn the fan off. And so, as some people can be just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that she said that. But it's a part of your life. It's going to be a part of your life for the next many years. For many women, it's over 10 years. And so if there's nothing, if you are feeling a certain way about hormone therapy, or if it may not be for you, then you have to find a way to incorporate it in your life. So, Marianne, yes, you were in your 30s too, not even thinking about it. Exactly. So Sheila says, I was probably 47 when I had my first hot flash. Wow, nice. And you're postmenopause and now you're 60. See, I'm postmenopause now, and I was 58 when I had my last period. And so it's just, it's a spectrum, and my goodness, we're all different. And for 47, from 47 to 50, you have to really think in terms of what it is that you're going to do and how you're going to deal with what's going on in your life. And for me, I was like, okay, how am I going to make this work? How am I going to, what am I going to do to incorporate these systems in my life? What am I going to do naturally? Because I did not want to take hormone therapy, and I'll tell you why. Now there's a personal, very, very personal reason, but I do have a video that I spoke about it in my video, You Have Choices. But another thing that I never spoke about was I was ear hustling at work one time, and ear hustling is eavesdropping for those of you who don't know. And so I was eavesdropping on a woman's conversation who was older than me, and she was talking to some of the other women in the office, and she said, yeah, I had the hot flashes. I was on hormone therapy, and then when I got off, all of my symptoms just rushed back in, and I was miserable. And I said to her, I said to myself, I was like, I am not going to do hormone therapy. I didn't know that everyone's experience is different, but I knew that I did not want that experience. So I just, I was always exercising. I was always eating properly or eating differently than everyone else. I really watched what I put in my mouth. I am a plant-based vegan, so I'm not a starchitarian. The bulk of my diet is not starchy foods. And so I did not have a lot of the symptoms that many women are experiencing now. And I didn't feel like my life was really, really stressed out. However, I will tell you that my children noticed my mood swings, and they told me about it too. They were like, Mom, you acting a little crazy. And I said, no, I'm not crazy. You're crazy. And then, of course, I realized, okay, it's probably menopause. So let's see what's going on. Yeah, you were probably 47 when you had your first hot flash, Sheila. And so now, would you be on interested, or are you on hormone therapy, or what do you think about that? I am not on hormone therapy. I am happily not on hormone therapy. And what I do is I focus on my fitness. I focus on my health, my nutrition. I've noticed through this process that there are things in my body that the foods that I used to eat, I cannot eat anymore. My body just does not like them. I am, I'm not. My body does not like wheat products. So bread is out. I get bloated and inflamed. I do not consume alcohol. I don't smoke. I've not smoked, and so there are spicy foods. This was the kicker for me. Spicy foods were that was really hard. That was really, well, the bread was hard too because I like bread, and even being in France, maybe it was the croissants. But maybe not, because they prepare their foods way differently than we do here. Ah, Sheila, no HRT for you? Yes, me either. Me either. Marianne says, my last doctor visit, the doctor said I was ready to be prescribed for HRT, and following you, I said I want to try and manage the symptoms naturally. Yes, Marianne, yes, try doing things naturally, because there are so many. What I have learned in my research is that there's so many things that overlap with the symptoms of menopause that we can help ourselves with naturally. So like I'm saying, with our nutrition, our that will alleviate a lot of the night sweats and the hot flashes. When we manage our emotions, that to me, I have found definitely reduces the hot flashes, because what I've noticed also is that when I have had a hot flash during the day, which has been very rare, I've noticed what is going on before I had that hot flash. So who was I interacting with, and did they have a negative or positive effect on me? Because stress can be negative. There's negative stress and there's positive stress. So, and your body doesn't really differentiate between the two. So what's going on? And that's something to notice. And when you are noticing these things, write them down so that you can really understand what is happening to your body, what are your triggers, what you need to focus on, what you may need to reduce from your life, and if you are under stress, think of some ways to alleviate that stress. So what I did was I just started practicing yoga and meditation. And specifically, there are times when I just will stop what I'm doing and do some meditation during the day. So it's not like it has to be like one time, because I was at one point in time, I was thinking, oh, well, I'll just meditate in the morning and that'll be it. No, that's not necessarily it. There are times when I'll meditate in the afternoon. I just take a stress break and do some meditation in the afternoon. Self-massage. You have no idea how great self-massage is. So if you don't have someone to massage you, do it yourself. And figure out where your pressure points are and help yourself. But Sheila is saying, okay, I wish I would have listened to my mom in my younger years. She would tell us to eat our fruits and vegetables and exercise because our older body will appreciate it. She passed away when I was 14. You know what? I feel you. I feel you, Sheila. I really do, because I now, you wish that you had listened to your mother, but I didn't have a mother to listen to. And and would I have listened to her if she were there? But what I did notice for me is that many of my family members were transitioning because of lifestyle related diseases, and that is what changed the trajectory of my life. And so being healthy from that was the byproduct in menopause of not having the symptoms of menopause affect me when I did start in perimenopause. So yeah. Oh, she died when you were 48. My condolences to you. My condolences. And I often wonder, because I have several friends whose parent or mother have transitioned when they were older, and I often wonder if it's harder for you than it was for me, because I didn't have my mother at all. But you experienced your mother for 48 years. And so that must have been a very, very traumatic loss for you. So you have all of my condolences. And I know that it's probably just like I feel like it just happened like yesterday. So yeah, I feel you. I absolutely feel you. And what are you doing now? Are you listening to like podcasts or or YouTube channels? Are you a subscriber to my channel, by the way, Crazy Sexy Menopause? And also too, when you now that you know better, are you doing better? Have you started eating your vegetables and fruits? And you're welcome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Are you have you changed your eating habits, and are you incorporating more fruits and vegetables in your life, and eating, and actually keeping up with your numbers, keeping up with your biometric numbers, knowing what they are, and because I know that in menopause, as we lose estrogen, our cholesterol number begins to rise. And so many people don't realize that is a side effect, or it's one of the symptoms of menopause. And I've checked that out, and what I have learned is that you don't necessarily need to get on medication for that. But what you can do is increase your cardiovascular health by doing some cardio, and a couple of 8 days out of the week, and make sure that your heart rate is over 100 beats per minute. And then also eating foods that are lower in cholesterol. So one of the things that I was consuming was coconut oil and coconut milk, actually. And so that was one of the first things that the dietitian honed in on. And she said, "Are you eating a lot of coconut milk?" And I was like, "Oh my God, yes." And so that is one of the things that really will contribute to high cholesterol. So I have definitely decrease. Well, for now, I have eliminated the coconut milk from my diet because I want to lower my cholesterol. And so by the next time I visit my doctor and get my numbers checked, I want to know that there is a significant drop in what I'm doing with my diet. So that is my suggestion for you to to one, get your numbers and know exactly where you're at on your biometric scale. That's super important. And it empowers you to know exactly where you are and what you're doing and how you can improve if there's something that's not necessarily optimal in your on your numbers. And Sheila says, now let me see if I can pull this up. I'm a little afraid right now because we've been having some challenges, but I'll just say, yes, Sheila says, yes, I've changed my eating habits. I walk 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day. I'm not vegan, but meat is not high on my foods to eat. Perfect. Perfect. Absolutely. That is wonderful. Now, have you noticed a difference in your symptoms? And have you noticed a difference in your health? And how long have you been doing that? Thank you. Excellent advice. Thank you so much. Yes, yes, yes. So I've definitely noticed some differences, and I have to agree with you on that 7 to 10,000. People are now like saying, oh, well, you don't have to do 10,000 steps. And for me, well, because I'm a race walker, a champion race walker, I need to do at least 10,000 steps in order for something to move the needle for me. And so I have found that working out and doing the cardio, doing at least 10,000 or more steps for me during the day is optimal for me. Now, 7 to 10,000 steps, that is really great. That is really, really great. And absolutely, regarding regarding your meat not being high on your foods to eat, a lot of the information out now is protein, 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 and I want to say that yes, it's good for some things, but not necessarily for everything. And if you are eating high amounts of protein, you probably should keep an eye on your kidney health and your EGFR number to make sure that your numbers are optimal, because that can be an issue going forward with regard to your kidney function, because your body will your body needs protein, yes, but it doesn't need an excess of protein. If you are competing for a competition, if you're building muscle, if you're doing sports activities that require a lot of protein, then that is it's good for you to eat an excess of protein, because your body is going to use that protein to build muscle and to keep you going, and you're going to utilize that. But if you're not utilizing that protein, it's not doing you any good. It's not doing you any good. So there is a minimal amount of protein that you need for your body to function, but not an excess. So, I am, so for this lunch hour, I know we're coming up on the half hour. I'm enjoying this, chilling and spilling the tea. Let me take a little breather here. I thought about eating lunch during this time, but I was like, that would be rude. And you can't talk and chew at the same time. So anyway, if there are any other questions, let me see, or any other comments, then I just want to know. I want you to know if you are on the menopause spectrum, anywhere on the menopause spectrum, or you feel out of sync with your body and you want to take your body back your energy, your strength, and your sleep with simple, consistent habits that actually work, subscribe to my channel, Crazy Sexy Menopause. And I just want to let you know that you're not crazy. You're definitely not crazy, because the symptoms of menopause may seem crazy. They're out of this world. They come out of nowhere, and sometimes people may even think that you're crazy, but you're not crazy. You are still sexy. Yes, you are. It's just menopause, and treat it that way. Incorporate it into your life, because it's going to be there. It's going to be there. And at 71 years old, I'm here to say that there's wonder on the other side. There's beauty on the other side. This is an opportunity for you to absolutely love yourself, redo whatever is happening, whatever you didn't do. Love yourself and be absolutely well. Thank you so much for joining me today.